Okay. Take a swig, and then I'll be ready to go. If you're not getting your clown masks wholesale, you're wasting your money. I'm Anthony.
I'm Damon.
I'm David.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Katie.
I'm Eric.
Welcome to issue number 169 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club podcast. Each and every week, we meet here to talk about comic books. This week, we would normally have a club discussion, but we don't have all of our readers here. So hopefully next week, we will have the finale of the Batman, The Adventures Continue with issue number 8. And then also in the upcoming week or two will be Inkblot number 6, which will be the end of that story arc. And a few weeks from there will be crossover issue number 4. So those are upcoming club discussions here on the podcast. But on this here show, we're going to do weekly reviews in which we're going to go all the way around the internet, talk about the books that we've been reading, both new and old. We will also jump into the news, which we will cover previews for Marvel and DC products coming out in April 2021. So those are the current February catalogs for April releases and beyond. So that is going to be our show. And I will kick it off here with the weekly reviews.
Just a quick question. Sorry to interrupt, but just occurred to me. So next week we're going to be talking about, you said this is the final issue of Batman, The Adventures Continue?
Of this miniseries, yep.
Okay, so would it then be Batman, The Adventures Concluded?
Ooh, yeah, we'll have to see once if they altered the title. What's interesting is that it was supposed to be 6 issues, so actually next week's issue is issue 8 of 6. That's how it's billed on all the websites. So yeah, who knows? It doesn't want to conclude, so
it just keeps going because it's
it's continuing. Okay, and my first book here is a one-shot tying into Eric's favorite event, the King in Black. This is Marauders issue number 1 for King in Black. Red Queen Kate Pryde and her crew of Marauders set sail against the forces of Null. Captain Kate has pledged to fight for the needy, and a global disaster like this one gives plenty of folks in need. This here is a one-shot spinning out of Marauders. Post X of Swords, but you got Kate Pryde, who is captain of the Marauder ship, as they're looking for young mutants or mutants to basically get access into I was going to say Genosha, but Krakoa is what I was looking for. But this issue is tying into King in Black, which is Null, who is the god of the symbiotes, who's showed up on Earth, and he's looking for somebody. We already got 3 issues of that series. So basically, he's looking for Eddie Brock's son, Dylan. So the Dylan, who is the son of Venom in that series. So this is a one-shot that's tying into that, where Kate and the crew are out at sea, and they get some distress signals, and they hear that there's a boat that is needing some help, and some of the other crew members are basically saying, like, well, we have this other mission, there's other people that we can't save everybody, but you're not going to tell the captain and longtime heroic superhero Kate Pryde, excuse me. You're not going to tell her that. So she's like, well, we got to go there. And you see the boat is being attacked by symbiote dragons. These are the symbiote dragons that have been attacking within the King in Black mini-series event that is spawning throughout almost all of the Marvel Universe. And it's pretty cool to kind of see the team go up against these things. And a couple times now in different books, we saw it in Fantastic Four, and now in this, the fact that fire would normally work against a symbiote here, but these aren't any kind of normal symbiotes. So we have Pyro, one of the team members here, trying his best in that situation, but finds out the hard way. But after they're talking to the crew of this boat, they find out, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, I forget the item that they say, but they just say, oh, it's we're hauling whatever. It's okay if it gets wrecked. We have a crew of people here. We're all safe. We're all fine. Don't worry about the cargo. But when Bishop goes down to kind of check things out, make sure they're not leaving anybody behind, they find a bunch of people in cages. They're basically doing human trafficking, and that kind of creates a whole extra layer to the story. So now, in a world where symbiote dragons are attacking Earth itself, and in this book, that's not even the main plot anymore. Now we have this actually very deep emotional story going on, and there's an awesome moment. Reminds me of the famous meme of Batman slapping Robin, but this time it is Kate Pryde slapping the whoever the captain is of this ship that they went to go rescue after he said these people or their cargo was disposable. So there's just a good moment of her just slapping the heck out of him. But yeah, that is the one-shot issue. One thing I really liked is that you see Kate makes a decision on what to do with these people. I will leave that for anybody who does want to read it, because they have all these people and they have to figure out what to do, not only with the people in cages, but also the people that put them there. And that's a interesting decision that Kate goes through in there. But really, really good issue. I really liked it. And once again, the biggest appeal was that the fact that the symbiote dragons were the lesser threat in this particular situation. But yeah, it was a real fun one-shot issue, and I think that is all I will say about that. If anyone still wants to read it, that is the King in Black Marauders #1 one-shot from Marvel Comics. All right, we will jump over to Damon for the next one.
Okay, this was kind of like a package deal. I recently, in cleaning out my stuff, came across my old box of Transformers, so I'm now into a kind of a Transformers kick, and Target had a package deal where the new Transformer that they released was actually Ectotron. This came out, original version, 2 years ago. This is the re-release. It's tied to the new movie coming out, so there's some slight color differentiations, but it's still a cool Transformers. It's even got the Ecto pack on the back. After I'm done reviewing, I'll transform it into the car and then just hold it up if anyone wants to see what it looks like. But the Target exclusive package came with Ectotron, Slimer, and then I believe this is going to be in the new movie, Muncher. He's got like 6 arms, even though one is kind of resting here on his tummy. Cute little new ghost. But more importantly, it also came with the special edition of Transformers, Ghostbusters, Ghosts of Cybertron, issue #1. I did not know this came out a couple years ago. I thought this was a new series that was just starting now. I was wrong. It did originally, I guess, come out, I think, in 2019. The book was fun. You whip through it really quick. It starts off on Cybertron, and I love it. Zool shows up with her 2 dogs, and, he's standing before Megatron, I am the Traveler. Megatron's like, the Traveler, explain yourself. And of course, Starscream, being the nincompoop that he is the one, when the Traveler says choose the form, he decides to choose a giant form of himself. And since this is a couple years old, I will be discussing the spoilers. You've had your chance. But of course, it says Cybertron was destroyed, as were the Decepticons who called it home. Now you fast forward 1,000 years later, and we're in New York with the Ghostbusters. And they are out on a bus in the park. And after they capture their ghost, the ghost image of Starscream appears. And they are like, what are you? They're getting different readings and everything. And before they zap him, Starscream says, leave, humans. I'm here to speak with the Autobot, not you. And of course, they go ahead and grab him in the trap. And then after they conclude all their business, they're like, the last words were, I got a question. Winston asks, I got a question. The robot ghost said it was here to speak with the Autobot. So what's an Autobot? And that's when their ectomobile transforms into Ectotron. And he says, that would be me. And unfortunately, that is where the first issue ends. It says in the corner, to be continued. And I was like, oh. I looked online, and of course, there's a trade paperback, but it's out of print. So I'm going to have to go to eBay and try to find it. And if I can't find that, try to find the other issues. I believe this was a 5-issue run. But the first issue, it was setting it up. It sounds like it's going to be fun. The special edition that comes with the toy after the comic book has the poster for the new movie coming out for Afterlife. And then it's got a cover gallery with the original covers. I like the first issue, Prime Gets Slimed. I just like that tagline. But it has the covers to all 5 issues in the back of this. So it was an advertisement for their current ongoing IDW series. So all in all, this is a nice package. This just came out in January. The Ectotron figure, if you're into Transformers, is the same as the last release, except for some coloring changes and a new head sculpt. But you can tell the white is faded, and this has the rust on it because it's supposed to be resembling the new car in the new movie coming out. The original was not. It was all white. But it's a cool toy. It was a great book. Now I got to try and find the other 4 issues. It was a lot of fun. I think this was a good run. I think Eric said you read it and you loved it.
It is a really good series. It did a great job of blending Ghostbusters in with the mythos of the Transformers. I mean, I don't know if you ever watched the old cartoons where, that took place after the movie where, Starscream's Spark still existed as a ghost. So seeing him come back as a ghost, kind of like as a throwback to the old series, is like, there's like a great throwback to, those who've seen it as kids. So, yeah, I'd say definitely get the other issues. You will enjoy them.
And a cool quick plug, it's pretty entertaining, but Transformers is currently crossing over with Back to the Future in that same kind of nature of having the DeLorean transform into, yeah.
I mean, you should say that. They actually have what's called Gigawatt. It is the DeLorean Transformer. The first wave sold out. I unfortunately did not know about it in time to get it, but they are doing a reissue. All this toy stores like Big Bad Toy Store and places online, you can pre-order it. So I have mine pre-ordered. Whenever that comes out, I will have that. And then there's a third one. If you're a real Transformers fan and you like this crossover, it's a Hasbro Pulse exclusive. It's Maverick from Top Gun.
Whoa.
It's going to be the F-14 jet, and when it transforms, the robot has Maverick's helmet on it, and he can hold a volleyball. For what it's worth, but if you're a huge, that's a Hasbro Pulse exclusive, which, I've just plugged 3 new special toys, the least they could do is kick a couple bucks to the Crimson Cowl podcast for plugging their products, but I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for that check to arrive.
I heard that Maverick Transformer bounces really well on the couch if you're playing it on the couch. So.
Yeah, it's cool that they're doing these crossover things. I guess it's not really anything new. They have done Transformers that crossed over with other things before. They did a number of Star Wars ones that would do it. You know, like you'd have a ship that would transform into kind of this Transformer version of like Obi-Wan Kenobi or Anakin or Darth Vader, or you know, whichever one they did, and there would be kind of a fitting Star Wars ship that would transform. They also did a number of like Marvel superheroes type ones where they had kind of an Iron Man that would transform into a jet, and then a couple things like that. So as far as the toys go, they have kind of ventured into that crossover territory in the past as well.
Cool. All right. We'll move over to the next one. David, what you got?
Okay, well, I decided to change up my reading a little bit, read some miscellaneous things that I had laying around. And one of them is from going back to 1992. And it is Soviet Super Soldiers. And this is focusing on various Soviet superheroes. Not all of them were necessarily the Soviets' version of superheroes like Red Guardian, but they just kind of, all of their superheroes and mutants and stuff like that, they kind of lump into this Soviet super soldier thing. I think in part because the government has really had control over all of their people, including their super beings. And this delves into that. It also delves into a little bit of how they treat mutants and hunt down mutant characters. It kind of starts off with, this tied into an issue of Captain America. And it kind of wraps up from there where Cap is disappointed in the outcome of what happened in his book, whereas there's 3 Soviet mutants who are being extradited back to the Soviet Union, just as during this time where it's the fall of the Soviet Union had just happened, and so they're taking these mutants back and they send them to a research facility where they're imprisoned, and then they're rescued, and then the government sends somebody to hunt them down and bring them back, and there's some death and dismemberment of some of the characters in here. But I thought it'd be interesting because there's a lot of these characters that I was not very familiar with at all. A couple of names that I heard, but hadn't really read much with them. And then there were some that were completely foreign to me, pun only mildly intended. So I gave it a read, and I think that they really put a lot in here. There's a lot of characters, and it was difficult for me to keep some of the names straight and everything, because they use their actual names on top of their silly code names, which is kind of talked about in there as well. And I had a really hard time keeping track of who was who and who was on which side and everything else. So it was a little bit confusing in that way for a #1 issue that's really just a special issue. I'd say it was really intended for readers that were probably a little bit more familiar with who some of these characters were, possibly who had been reading whatever was going on in Captain America at the time. And yet I guess I could see it. There were a lot of new comics that would come out and just kind of jump right into things, and you're kind of going, wait, am I supposed to know what's going on here? This is a new character, but they act like I'm supposed to know them or something like that. And this had that feel where it was just you're jumping in. They didn't give really good introductions to who these characters are, even though they kind of did. I think they attempted to do that, but there's just so many of them that it was difficult to keep them straight throughout the story and what their relationships to each other were. But you know, it was something different, and it was enjoyable to kind of go back to that era and read some of these characters that I knew existed in Marvel Comics, but didn't really know or understand. And yet I read through this issue, and I still don't know or understand a lot of these characters. So.
All right. Okay, next up on the list, we've got Kirby.
All right, a while back, picked up a Katrina comic, which was about a hurricane in Louisiana, sitting there causing a bunch of vampires to take over the city and stuff. And we got that because Shelley's nieces are Katrina and Brianna. So a little while after that, I came across Brave Chef Brianna. I picked up the first 2 comics for that for her, and it ended up that it's a 4-issue run. I read the first 2 comics and I really got into it, so I ended up picking up the trade paperback. But Brianna Jacobson has big cooking dreams, and when her ailing father, a world-renowned chef, poses a challenge to his only daughter and 15 sons, she seizes the opportunity. She's going to have the best restaurant around and earn the family empire. Thing is, the only place she can afford to set up shop is in Monster City. Her menu is full of weird delicacies. Her kitchen is run by a half-bird harpy, and her dining room is filled with skeleton businessmen. Add on the nefarious Madame Crone, some highly competitive siblings, and Brianna's plate is literally full. This is a lot of fun. Like I said, I read the first 2 issues, and it's like I wanted to find out what happened in the end. She comes to this monster town, opens up her restaurant, and instantly has issues. No one wants to come and help her out. And then the Harpy girl shows up to help be a waitress, ends up learning cooking from her and stuff like that. And one other human in the town named Kevin, he helps out and kind of pushes her to keep going. And she keeps having her breakdowns and stuff because she's got her issues with her father and she doesn't want to disappoint him. Her father's dying, so that's why he makes this deal. He won't tell the kids why he's dying, when he's dying. He just basically told them all of you go off. You cannot work in the same town. Go off, start your own restaurants, and whoever has the best restaurant going when I die gets the family fortune. The family, all the stuff that he's saved up over the years outside of money, though, all financially he's set, but he's a big time chef. He's basically like the Emerald of cooking for this. And yeah, you got Madame Crone. She's mad because there's someone else in town, so she tries to get her shut down. There's a rule in Monster Town where you cannot use flour or sugar because they hate humans, because humans just kept wanting to kill all the monsters in the earlier years. So they made that rule in Monster Town. So Madame Crone's like, oh, you're breaking rules. So she gets her shut down by the Food Commission. And then there's some things that happen. You got to read about that if you're interested in checking it out. I don't want to give it all away. But yeah, it's really fun how they did that, and with her whole family issues and stuff, and how it works out throughout here. And of course, you got all the different covers and that in the back. But the thing I liked with each comic book had a recipe in the last page, and it was a recipe based on something that was brought up in the issue, like savory Vietnamese crepes, buffalo chicken tater tot casserole, calamari sushi. And it's just, yeah. And they're actual recipes you can actually do stuff with. But if you know anybody that's into cooking or something like that, I think they'd really enjoy this, even if they've never got into comic books before or anything like that. So Brianna, who's getting this, I got to get her a new one because I ordered this when it came and it's just all beat to shit. So I ordered another copy for her. But she doesn't comic books at all, but I know she'll get a kick out of this. So the same with that Katrina comic. It's just neither one of them were comic book readers, but I like pushing it on people. So
Plus, there's a character named Kevin in the book too. That's a bonus.
Oh, that's a bonus. Yeah, I just gotta find an Alex book for her nephew. I don't
Alex
want-
and Ada.
all I can think is Alex Ross.
Alex and Ada. David recently talked about that. So, how old is this kid? Is he into
Oh, he's a young
robot
adult.
love?
He's in like the 20s.
Oh, okay, then it's fine. It'd been even better if he was younger. Be like, yeah, get this book about this guy who has this robot girlfriend. So,
No, they're all older, but I like to get people weird gifts that relate to them. So
good. All right. We will jump over to the next one. Katie, what you got?
Okay, so this week I actually have a follow-up from last week. I have Invincible Iron Man Volume 2, War Machines. This is from a reboot around 2015 or 2016. The premise is that Tony Stark and James Rhodes are fighting some biohack ninjas. So they are ninjas, but they also have ability to psionically and telepathically like take technology away and then kind of infiltrate it. Interesting concept. So the general premise, this book mostly takes place in Japan, because that's where ninjas live. No, I mean, not really, but in the superhero universe, yes.
Yeah, there's
so-
not really ninjas living in Japan. That's completely false.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, no, actually, I don't know a ton about ninjas or not, but so I thought this book was kind of a mixed bag, so I do want to try and talk about it honestly. So they're fighting these ninjas, and Tony decides he has to go undercover to infiltrate this organization because no one else has heard about them yet, and they've built up this big empire without SHIELD or anyone else like learning about it. So he's very concerned about it. Meanwhile, he has recently hired Mary Jane Watson to run his company and do all the business affairs while he gets back to being an inventor and a scientist. He's also trying to have a relationship with this lady called Dr. Amara. And then halfway through this book, it kind of switches gears, and then Tony is missing for like a month and no one knows where he is. Eventually, him and Rhodey meet up and then go away and separate again. And then Rhodey gets really concerned and he brings in some other Avengers to try and find Tony Stark because his company is falling to pieces and he's just been missing and everyone's really worried about him. So there's actually quite a few subplots going on in this book, but I think that covers all the main stuff. Something that, I think kind of caused this book to have challenges is it was the kickoff to Civil War II. And no hate or anything, I just have zero interest in Civil War II. So I think the book kind of lost its way trying to be a tie-in into that. But, if you are a Civil War II fan, this could be a really helpful book to help you understand that. What else? The character of Riri Williams was introduced here. So it was actually really nice to just read a little bit about that character and learn about her because she's one that is so divisive that if you go into the comic book community to try and understand like the situation and the fandom, I mean, you end up just getting like either complete and total vitriol or like she's the greatest thing ever. And, I would just rather make up my own mind. So I got to read about her a little bit. That's cool. So Riri is a genius and she's currently studying at MIT. And she built her own suit of Iron Man armor and is testing it out and going and doing some kind of cool superhero things. She stops some bad guys who had broken out of a prison. So that was nice. We see quite a bit of Tony's AI, Friday, in this book. Friday is both intelligent and sentient, and everyone kind of treats her like garbage. The only person that respects her are Tony and Mary Jane. I want everyone to be nicer to Friday because I'm like, she's smarter than you are and she has feelings. So number one, you should just do that and not be a jerk. And number two, she's a super powerful AI that is managing to run Stark Enterprises and could like shut all of this down at absolutely any time. And then where would you be? There's a subplot in here about there being a hostile takeover of the board of Tony's company. So if you like that stuff, it's there. But yeah, Justice for Friday. Friday writes. I'd like to see her be treated better. What else about this book?
I thought everybody loved Friday.
Rebecca
I mean, I
Blackburn.
thought so too. Everyone's always like, yeah, TGIF, or yeah, can't wait for Friday. So,
Monday nobody likes.
well, you know what? That must be it, because like these people are super businessmen, and they're like all about the Dow Jones and the value, and like what is the company doing, and how does this look for our investors? So maybe they just really like Mondays because they just really love work and doing business, and that's why they're mad at Friday.
And not to get ahead of your reading, but in volume 3, we do see Garfield enter as a villain for Tony
Okay.
Stark. So, yeah,
Okay, actually, that would be pretty interesting. I'd like that. I'd read that. So, like, what does are him and Tony like in a competition to make the most bestest lasagna ever? And
Well-
then Garfield is like, how could you do this to me?
It's just that he hates Mondays. It's as simple as that. So
Oh, I get you. Okay, all right, yeah.
I didn't think of it any further than that.
Oh no, that's a good one. Actually, I way overthought it. No, that's excellent. Yeah. Garfield versus Friday, the showdown of the century. Oh my goodness. What else about this book before I start writing a whole new comic? So there was one little scene that if I were writing it, I would not have done. Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, is an Inhuman who can apparently, at least in this book, shapeshift a little bit. I thought she was super bendy and stretchy, but honestly, I don't know about that character beyond what you've told us. And Kamala Khan shapeshifts so that she looks like Rhodey, and who Tony walks into a bar. Actually, I think it was a coffee shop. Tony walks into a restaurant and walks into the men's bathroom, and Rhodey is sitting there talking to him, and all of a sudden Tony is like, all right, okay, who are you really? Like, take off the mask. And it's Kamala Khan, and they're in a men's bathroom together. And Kamala is still a teenager, like she's like 14, 15, 16. I thought that was inappropriate. You know, I'm probably overthinking it. Nothing happened. I'm just like, why would you have a teenage girl meet a guy in the men's bathroom? But she was trying to be Rhodey, so I guess it makes sense. I still thought it was in poor taste. That's just my opinion. Yeah, I mean, this was a pretty lengthy volume. I felt like it took me a while to read. Yeah, so let's talk about who it's written by. Brian Michael Bendis and Mike Deodato are on it, and then our buddy Clayton Cowles is doing the lettering. I have an honest question. So there's a lot of Bendis dialogue pages in this where it is just a lot of talking. Does Bendis write books? Like, does he write novels?
He's written actually a book about writing comics. I mean, he's done prose work and that sort of. I'm trying to think of what the title, Words with Pictures, I think it's called.
Okay.
But as far as actual novels, I don't think he has anything.
Okay, the reason I ask is I just think he'd be really well suited to that. You know, it's clear he likes one-on-one character interactions. He likes to lay out a lot of description through that, and I just think he'd actually be really good at prose. You know, maybe as good as comics or even better. So, just wonder.
A lot of his early work he did where he was both writer and artist, so he wrote for himself. So I wonder if any of that kind of plays into it because, you know, when you're writing for yourself as the artist, you know, you pretty much aren't thinking about, you know, what you're putting an artist through. So maybe some of those origins kind of carry over to the fact that, you know, he keeps the dialogue going, but then realizing like, oh, well, now someone's got to, you know, if they could fit a picture in around those balloons somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think that could definitely be it. And like, I'm not knocking him or anything. That's his style. That's what he's known for. I just think he could also do very well and be very happy with writing novels. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say about this book. I do hope we pick up some of the threads from book 1 again in the next book, because it was a marked departure, but still pretty fun. Anyway, Invincible Iron Man Volume 2, War Machines.
Cool. All right. As we welcome Eric back to the show, what you got for us here?
Right. First one I have is put out by Dark Horse called Fear Case. I don't know. Lately, I've been looking at a lot of these more indie out there titles, and this one's pretty good. And there is one thing. I opened the book, and it immediately struck me as weird. This is the first time I've ever seen a comic book where the first page actually begins on the other side of the cover.
Yeah,
I don't know,
it
that just-
doesn't too often.
That just put me off. I'm like, wait, what? But anywho, it opens up with two, I guess, rookie Secret Service agents, and they tell that they have 3 weeks on this case. And this case is called the Fear Case. I know. Surprise, right? Turns out that the Fear Case is kind of like an initiation ritual for anyone who wants to be a Secret Service investigator. They're only given 1 year to solve it because any agent that has tried to solve this case after 1 year has gone insane and off the deep end. Essentially, the case revolves around a literal case, which again they call the Fear Case. I mean, they didn't have to hammer that in so hard, but they did. And essentially what it is, it's this briefcase that it's kind of like that episode of Twilight Zone involving the box. If you're given the Fear Case, you have 3 days to give it to the person you hate the most. If you don't, then somehow it's going to end up in possession of the person you most love. And if that happens, then something really, really bad can happen. Like in this case, like this is like 2 or 3 weeks old, so don't feel too bad if it's a spoiler. But the agents come up upon this lady in a swimming pool in blood, and they find this wonderful pile of viscera on the kitchen counter. So, you know, she doesn't know what the heck goes on. She recounts her story regarding how her ex-husband gave her this case and was told, don't look inside it, but give it to someone you really hate, but not me. So basically it revolves around the two agents. They have 3 weeks left before they're taken off the case and it gets sent to some new rookies. And, you know, basically they see, bad things are happening now because some people just aren't following, you know, the rules. And I guess this case has been traced back to JFK, to Abraham Lincoln, to stock markets. So it's somewhat important. Why somebody just doesn't destroy the darn thing, I don't know. It's just one of those things. There's nothing good if you do give it to someone, but there's nothing but bad if you don't. So this is the start of the series. I want to see where this goes. It came off to a shocking start. You know, you see a lady who just disembowels someone for no good reason. So who knows what other surprises are in store.
All right, cool. All right, my next issue to talk about here is the latest issue of Fantastic Four, issue number 29. This, once again, like my last title, is a tie-in with Eric's favorite event, the King in Black. So here we go. In the middle of the chaos that is King in Black, a symbiote bonds with a member of Marvel's first family. What's been going on in the Fantastic Four is that they are these new guardians of, I want to say it's the Forever Gate. The Forever Gate, which is a doorway to every point in space and time. They've been dealing with a lot of stuff over the course of this entire series since issue 1. But this issue is kind of wrapped up what happened last issue, kind of starting fresh. We have Johnny Storm after a mission going to to a planet that they had landed on, he came across his true love, this superhero called Sky, who, when it was time to go back to Earth, Sky decided to come along with the Fantastic Four. And Sue Storm's been a little iffy on this. You know, she's seen her brother kind of go through many different girlfriends, and this one's going at a rapid pace as far as them getting pretty close to each other, and she's not quite sure. She doesn't believe this whole thing of her saying that they are bonded in love and that they share the same mind and body. And it's all of the stuff that actually does unfold that kind of turns Sue Storm's reaction around when it comes to Sky. So while they're just kind of hanging out, they are rebuilding 4 Yancey Street, which is their headquarters for the start of this new series. And as they're kind of going through the house here, everyone's kind of going back to the missions. You have Franklin and Valeria are protecting the Forever Gate. You've got some members of the FF that are also kind of working on and protecting this. And everyone's kind of off on their own mission until, you guessed it, the symbiote dragons come showing up here on Earth, and all heck breaks loose. And we see a lot of cameos from all the other Marvel characters that are fighting. We've got some Wolverine, we've got some Spider-Man, we've got some Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel. Everybody is just kind of being thrown into this in some scenes, which are actually things that we've seen in the King of Black series that they point you to. So if you want to get a little expanded scene from these panels, you can definitely check out King in Black proper. But yep, you start seeing the attacks going on, and the FF basically trying to figure out what's going on. They're getting messages from Captain America, who is they've already been fighting Null and all the symbiotes and everything. But it gets really interesting in that moment where Johnny Storm is he is the member of the FF that gets taken over and is controlled by the symbiote. And this is the moment where Sue Storm starts to believe Sky, just a little too late, on the fact that those two characters are connected, even though they had just recently met, because Sky herself gets transformed as well. This is what Sky looks like normally. And then we jump over to her transformation as she gets nullified, if you will. And that's because it happened to Johnny. She didn't have any direct contact with this symbiote. You see, actually on this page, the left side, you see Johnny Storm dealing with it. And then you just see Sky with Sue Storm, and it's just happening to her. And that's when Sue wakes up and realizes that this love connection is a little more than what she thought it was, and that will probably most likely change the tone of the book here on out when it comes to Sky being a regular member of this team. But I've really been digging the FF series altogether. I think this tie-in fits well with the story they have been telling, because they're talking about the Forever Gate and the fact that they have to protect that because Null has basically encased all of the Earth with the symbiote, the symbiote goo, if you will. And the Forever Gate would actually be the one thing that could actually get them out. So they have to do what they can. And that's a continuing storyline from what was going on. So this tie-in does feel pretty natural. There are some other issues that you definitely see where it just jumps in just for the sake of the tie-in puzzle piece. But this one is already kind of dealing with, like I said, with if it wasn't for this King in Black tie-in, the whole symbiote thing, taking Johnny Storm and then at the same time taking Sky, that storyline is now playing into Sue's distrust of this new member that's quickly thrown into their family. And so they used King in Black for their advantage to get Sue into the next phase of this relationship of accepting who her brother is seeing here. The only thing I'll tease here for anyone that has to check this out or wants to check it out yet is that there is another member of the Fantastic Four that does get nullified as well, and there was a couple names I didn't say, so the options are still up to the reader to find out. But it does get me pretty excited for the next issue. So most likely we'll probably have a 2-issue tie-in with King in Black, because I believe Fantastic Four does come out twice monthly. So some of the other series, if they're a monthly book, they might only get one issue depending on where their story's at. But this one we definitely will see more, and I thought it fit well with the current story. So that is Fantastic Four issue number 29, King in Black tie-in. All right. We will go on to the next person in the list, which I got to go to my list to make sure I get right. Yes, David, you are the next one. What you got?
All right. For my next one, I have a crossover, intercompany crossover.
King in Black tie-in?
No, this is actually Superman, Savage Dragon, Chicago. Okay, so this is actually published by DC Comics, although it's written by Eric Larson, who created Savage Dragon, which has been published. I think it's been published pretty much nonstop since it started in the early days of Image Comics, so yeah, it's published by DC Comics, but written and penciled by Eric Larson. So this is just something that I came across, and of course, being a Superman book, I had to read it. I vaguely remember some Savage Dragon stuff. I did read the first few issues when they first came out from Image, and it wasn't something that I was really interested in, so I dropped it pretty quickly, and haven't read anything since then. But I knew a little bit, the backstory, the thing that he's a cop in Chicago that is green and has a big fin on his head, and all this stuff, and some of his powers, the strength and invulnerability, and so I was surprised, though, not so much that it was published by DC, but that it was written by Eric Larson, because when you start reading it, just the way things happen and the way that Savage Dragon is used in here, you'd almost think that the writer didn't like that character. So I thought that was kind of odd. Most of the book, Savage Dragon's not really all that active and stuff. He spends almost the entire book complaining that Superman is in Chicago involved in this thing. The whole thing is surrounding a bunch of Superman's regular villains gallery has, for some reason, been freed from prison and pulled together and working together in Chicago. I guess the back of the book kind of gives you the background of it. When Superman's greatest foes leave their native metropolis and join Chicago's notorious criminal organization, the Vicious Circle, the call is put out for the Man of Steel to save the day. But the dragon ain't exactly doing backflips when he's forced to ally himself with a guy who wears his underwear on the outside of his pants. And that really is a good summary of the book, because that's it. That's the book. They're out there to stop these villains who have joined together and joined the Vicious Circle in Chicago. Savage Dragon is not thrilled. He's very vocal about not being thrilled about it. There's cracks about Superman's underwear a couple of times in the book. So that, you save yourself the trouble, read the back of the book, and you've got the story.
Now, you said there was a crack in Superman's underwear. He was making a joke, or we actually saw Superman's crack?
No, no actual crack.
No kryptonite crack in this.
No, he made a joke. He made
okay. Just got to clarify, because
a ha funny comment.
Just had to clarify, because I almost hit purchase on the issue. So
Yes, they actually. Yeah, that's the big selling point is they show Superman's crack. No, there's actually a press conference where Superman goes to Chicago. They kind of hold this press conference announcing to the people that Superman's here. So it's not like Superman just went to Chicago and took care of this. They had to hold a press conference and the police and talking about him working with the police and everything else. And reporters are asking a couple questions, and then as they're taking the questions, Savage Dragon actually raises his hand and says, "I have one. How come you wear your underwear on the outside of your pants?" And then there's just quiet and some crickets chirping or whatever. And what? It was a legitimate question. But the whole time he's just complaining about, Superman didn't need to be there. Superman's useless. And just going on and on and on. And Lois Lane approaches him about him and says that really you're just jealous, which he agrees to, but then continues to complain about Superman. So this is a book about Savage Dragon complaining about Superman. This what it is, which at first I didn't mind it. I'm a fan of Superman, but I don't mind a little, the underwear cracks and stuff like that. I've got no problems with that. I'm not such a Superman fan that I can't tolerate some criticism about the character. But it's just that it goes on and on and on, and it's the whole book is nothing but Savage Dragon complaining about Superman. So.
Interesting. The crossover you didn't see coming. So
Yeah. No, the crossover that you didn't ask for, but you got it anyways, and when you did, you asked why we got it.
All right. Okay. Well, hopefully we'll have a little faith in our next title here. So what do we got there, Kirby?
One of the least represented people in comic books are us fatties. So I picked up a few autographed comics, and one just happened to be called Faith, Hollywood and Vine. Faith Herbert has always wanted to be a superhero, just like the ones in her favorite comic books. When she unlocked her latent psionic powers and joined the Harbinger Renegades, she finally had her shot. But now she's going to see if she's got what it takes to make it as a solo hero, secret identity and all. By day, she's a mild-mannered pop culture blogger. By night, she's LA's leading superhero, the sky-soaring Zephyr. And when other young psiots start going missing without a trace all over the city of angels, it's going to be up to her to find out why. This was actually a fun surprise. I wouldn't have bought it just for itself. I bought it because, like I said, I had 3 trade paperbacks that were autographed. So I figured I'd pick them up. I can't even tell who really autographed this one. So,
I did.
I'm guessing the guy I bought it from autographed it. But yeah, these psiots just start going missing, and they're just getting hooked up to these machines, and they're doing experiments on them and trying to come up with some type of way to, like, I think, steal their abilities and stuff. And she was working with a group of other superheroes, the Renegades, and she left them and decided to go on her own. And so she's just taking the law into her own hands, doing her superhero stuff. And she works basically like a newspaper type blogging group during the day. And that's her secret identity there with her red-headed wig, and stuff happens and she has to come out in her superpower, has to come out as Faith to stop some problems in the office. So then her co-workers find out her secret identity, is revealed, and they're like, well, we kind of figured. You can kind of tell between the two, it's like a Superman thing. But it was enjoyable. I don't know if they did anything before this, because like she says, she worked with the Renegades. I don't know if they have her in those books or what's going on. But in this one, she just takes on the cult that's trying to take powers from the Psyops, and it was enjoyable. So if you're looking for a female superhero of plus size proportions, check her out. I see Anthony has a different version of it.
Yeah, there's a couple different volumes, I believe, where she's had some like miniseries, and then she had kind of crossed over and had, like Faith in the Future Force and things like that. But so yeah, she's got a couple different things within. That's Valiant, right?
Yep. And I'm not sure about all her superpowers. I know she can fly, and she can like put it like a thing around, a magnetic type thing around other people and make them fly with her and stuff like that. Now bullets bounce off her. I'm not sure about all her abilities.
I have her first issue that I autographed because Jody Hauser is her co-creator, and I was trying to locate it to see what that signature was, if that was because I know I met her. So, but
yeah,
so
Jody Hauser did this, and then Francis Portella and Marguerite Sauvage.
Okay,
like that first. Yeah, I think that is Jody's, because the first letter looks more like a J than any of the other letters would have been. So,
I do have some comics that look like they have that same signature in it. But actually what happened is it was when David was little and got a hold of some crayons.
That's what I said. I'm like, the guy that sold it to me probably just me.
all right.
I think though that I read that they're looking at making a motion picture on Faith. So I've actually been wanting to see that one.
Definitely.
I'd watch that.
Cool. All right, Eric, you're up next here. What you got?
All right. Another one I have, since I've come back, it's got to be another Aftershock title, of course. This one called I Breathe the Body. So you see, nice and very visceral. It opens up where you see a man with a baby. You don't exactly know what he's doing to the baby, but there's a whole bunch of weird, like, lab-grown mutation stuff around him. And you find the baby's mother's not happy with what's going on, so you immediately assume something not good is happening. Then fast forward several years, you find out that the man who was trying to inject the baby with something is Bramwell Caliban, who not only owns the Mycena network, which is like it's a social network powered by a communications device, basically has just now completely overtaken everyone's lives. And he also owns a company that has created lab-grown meat, which has solved the food crisis for everyone, because now everyone can basically like grow a hamburger wherever they want. It revolves around the character named Annie, who is a publicist for Bramwell's son, Milo Caliban. For some reason, this kid is the most famous person on Earth. He's just this social media prankster. It's weird. He keeps pulling pranks, and Annie does the she's like the publicist for him, keeps him relevant. And one night she's brought to Bramwell's house. She meets with Milo, and he's about to do an unauthorized live stream. Now, like, this is like a 3-week-old book. I haven't been around for a while, so I don't have a problem with like revealing the setup. Basically, he storms off, does a live feed. You see Milo with a necklace that his mother gave him, he ends up stabbing himself. He gets skinned. We don't exactly know why. But then from the grisly aftermath, you see something has grown from like all the stuff that just like sluiced off of him, and it basically says, "I have no lips, but I must speak." Which I don't know if anyone's a Harlan Ellison fan, but there was one of his more famous short stories was, "I have no mouth, but I must scream." So basically all you're given is like, a glimpse into this world that, people have lab grown meat. So maybe vegans can actually have meat. David, this could be something that your family would benefit from greatly. And we also see social media that, I think eventually social media will become way too big a part of our lives if it hasn't already. But then you find out, okay, now there's this really weird thing that's happening, and considering that this was all witnessed worldwide in a live stream of one of like the world's most famous people, you just think something bad is going to happen. And that's one thing I found with, like, I might have said it before, but it's always true. With all the Aftershock comics, they give you that first issue, and then you're like, wait, what? And you just want to keep reading. So, again, this is, even if I disappear for a while again, I'm going to come back, and there will be another Aftershock issue for me to review because they just keep on putting out some really good stuff. So, but I'll have to see if we can actually do that lab grown meat, because then your fridge, David, might be filled with something tasty for once. Sorry.
And no worries about the spoilers. It's a pre-recorded audio about that in the segment. Spoilers are welcome. So
okay.
I don't say it up front, but it's a pre-recorded in the intro.
Well, I always like to give warning just in case. You never know. There will always be someone who might eventually be like, hey, I did not like that.
And to follow up with Kirby's signature there, I did find my issue number 1 autographed by Jody Hauser. So that looks very similar there. So it looks like that's the signature you got. And with this and with all the different number 1s and miniseries, I don't remember without rereading if this was the very first appearance of her. So if that movie does happen, I can't wait to put it on eBay and find somebody named Anthony and see if they want to buy it. So I always get my comics personalized because I want all of those creators to know that it's staying right here and not be resold. I actually had her up on the wall. So it's a wall book. So the classic wall book. We don't have the Crimson Cowl comic shop anymore, but we got wall books here at the Crimson Cowl Comic Club. So.
I still have plenty of books on racks and on walls. There's some back there on the wall.
Keeping the spirit alive. Okay, then we're actually going to swing around back to Kirby for our last title. So what you got? Actually, no, Eric has one more yet. So Kirby's last title.
All right. I checked out Jughead Volume One. This is another one that I got signed. Again, you kind of wonder about the signature because she did an Anthony and did 2 letters, E-H.
Oh, that's Erica Henderson.
Yep. And I wasn't thrilled with this when I started it, but then it sucked me in. It ended up being really fun. I couldn't tell throughout it whether or not this whole thing was Jughead's dream or if it was dreams inside the regular run or if the whole thing was supposed to be an actual run or not, because how it ends kind of like what you would think would be the dream world part of it. So I was surprised about that, but it was very fun running. About I suppose I can give you the synopsis here. Archie's best pal, Jughead, cuts to the front of the burger line in his own new comic book series, collected in graphic novel form for the first time, featuring a story from mad comic book genius Chip Zdarsky, with energetic and acclaimed art by Erica Henderson. Jughead Volume One is an essential part of the fast-growing new Riverdale library. Riverdale High prides itself on providing a quality education, but to Jughead Jones, what matters most is mealtime, and Riverdale delivers solid midday chow. But when that sacred time is tampered with by a hot-headed new principal, Jughead swears vengeance. Can the burger-loving beanpole curry enough favor, see what he did there, to roll back the cuisine catastrophe? This book has the answer. It collects issues 1 through 6, and then number 7 of Archie is in the back of this, which is kind of like split up into 4 different comics to give it a little mini trade paperback look. But yeah, basically Jughead's enjoying life, going on with his burgers, and this new principal comes in and just gets rid of the principal, teachers, changes everything around the school, turns their lunch menu into this purple slop that you gotta eat. And he comes across this thought that the principal's basically turning everybody into mindless clones to be like military operatives or something like that, secret agents. And so they had to be dream worlds that he'd keep going into, because he'd be taking naps at Pops or wherever, and they'd have fun little adventures that had all kinds of things going on with it. And then there's time police that are in here and stuff, and that's why I couldn't tell if it was regular run or dream run, because of the Archie's time police, that issue that went on and stuff. So, but the thing I have a problem with in here is when you look at Erica Henderson, you see characters like Archie and stuff. Archie, she likes doing what's his name? The Craven the Hunter. Archie, for some reason, runs around with this big poofy collared outfit. I don't know what that's about, but a lot of her characters have the Squirrel Girl look, and I'm like, well, what's up with that? It's like they all got the Squirrel Girl face from my Squirrel Girl books, and then one of the other books I got in the deal is another Erica Henderson signed book. It was Squirrel Girl Power, or Squirrel Power. And it's like, yeah, duh, that's where I seen it. So it's like I was telling Anthony earlier, I don't pay attention to the artists and the writers and the colors and all that. I just pay attention to the book itself. But once I seen that, it explained it all and made sense. But yeah, this is a fun story with Jughead, with a principal that's basically sabotaging the school, trying to turn them into little secret agents and stuff like that. And Jughead does what he can to try and save the day, and it was a fun story.
Yeah, I think that series maybe went up to like 14 issues total, so there might only be 2 volumes in the Jughead stories there.
Okay, it has 6. So.
Yeah, so that most likely they probably just collected in one more volume. But yeah, I read it too as the dream world of him, just, that's how I interpreted it. But yeah, pretty fun. And then looking at her style, commenting on, the similar faces and stuff. Then you look at something that we talked about at the end of last year, the Dracula Mother effort. She does the art on that. And, it's one of those things that you wouldn't think that it was done by the same artist. You can understand that clearly between Jughead and Squirrel Girl. But then you look at the Dracula one, and you probably wouldn't think that was her as well. So
a good example is there's Betty, and then there's Squirrel Girl. So hair color different, face exactly the same.
Another thing too, like even like Mike Allred has that too, where you see the similar
Yeah.
style faces, except for one
I
character.
could never do it. I couldn't do 50 different character faces. It's
Like
But-
there's so much, like I love Dawn Greenwood of the Silver Surfer run, and when I look at any other like micro all red like female characters, I see, you know, Dawn Greenwood but with a different, you know, outfit and different hairstyle and stuff like that. But you know,
my hardest thing is when I see Archie looking like Squirrel Girl. It's like, wait.
well, and to back up, you know, why he's got that Craven the Hunter type thing, I mean, he did have a run-in with the Punisher back in the 90s, so he's not a stranger when it comes to the Marvel universe. That maybe that was a crossover they're just waiting to have happen, you know. Archie
Yeah, I
versus
was just
Craven.
curious
That
why
may
she
be-
had him in multiple frames with that big fuzzy collar. It just wasn't a thing that clicked with Archie for me.
Yeah, that Archie meets the Punisher might be the only Archie comic book I own. So,
It's a
Yeah,
good,
I like that
Art.
one. That was a good one.
but it's worth it.
good. All right. We have one more title left in the weekly reviews. Eric, take us home. What you got?
Another new issue by Image, or new series by Image, Homesick Bastards. I just read
Pilots.
Pilots. I'm sorry, it's on the back. It says Nuclear Bastards. So, Homesick Pilots 1 and 2. They're on issue 3. So, this is fairly. So you know, this has been out there a while. Essentially, the Homesick Pilots are like a 3-person grunge band, and you know, the story starts where, you know, they're performing they're performing a show with the Nuclear Bastards illegally in a bowling alley that's been abandoned. Gets busted up by the cops, and you know, of course, they all run away. They end up going to this one house, which, you know, it's the house that every town has, where there's a, you know, a haunted story behind it. And so first it's the girl of the band who goes to the house. She tells them she's going to the house, but you know, then, you know, nobody finds her. So the rest of the Homesick Pilots and the Nuclear Bastards show up at the house, and it's brought in a really interesting scene where it starts out where the Homesick Pilots, they go in through the top, Nuclear Bastards go in through the back, and you know, there's basically 2 of them. You get to see them. They progress through the house and meet through the center.
Yeah, and when they meet in the center, then they're the Homesick Bastards.
Yes,
It's like it's a super.
we'll
group.
go with that. But yeah, but story goes on. The Nuclear Bastards, well, they don't have to worry about being a rival band anymore because the house decides to just rip them to shreds. It looks slightly uncomfortable. And that's why, you know, the first issue had Homesick Pilots, Nuclear Bastards on the back. Second issue, Rest in Peace, Nuclear Bastards. But essentially what gets set up, because the girl character, I forget her name, it's been a while since I've read it, but she grew up through a foster system, always talked about how she was incomplete. And it turns out that she resonated with the house because as time went on, people took objects out of the house. And, you know, the house is kind of joined with her. And she has now been tasked, you know, she's being the white hair, with getting the objects back. And they don't always want to go back. So we see that we don't know how much power she has or if she's still herself, but or you know, if the house is just like working alongside her. But either way, I think this is a good twist on, you know, the haunted house story because she becomes the house herself. So, but either way, issue 3 is out. I haven't read it yet because I have a great big stack that I need to catch up on. But again, this is another indie series that, it has this little it's just own little quirkiness that I don't know, I've been attracted to lately in a lot of stories. So it's worth checking out.
Cool, cool. All right, that is going to do it for the weekly reviews, but we have another segment. Let's jump over to the news. All right.
Which one are you doing first, DC or Marvel?
Marvel. Doing a courtesy save over here.
Hang on.
Okay. We are recording.
Oh, hold on. Eric's not ready yet.
Sorry. No. See, this is why I wanted to name my kid Gotham, because if I did, I could say right now, Gotham needs me. So yeah, little guy, he's up. I might have to cut this short then. So I will see you later. This has been Eric. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, and if I remember, I can put that audio in at the end, but I probably won't remember. So
After all the beep, 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 beeps.
That's okay. It'll be in the video version.
Sick beat, sick beat.
all right. Let me get back on track here. Okay, there we go. Welcome to the news section. This is going to be part 1 of 2 of our previews. We're going to cover Marvel and DC February catalogs for products coming out in April and beyond. Next week, we'll jump into the giant catalog, which is the independents and the merchandise and the apparel and the statues, collectibles, all of that fun stuff. Starting off with Marvel, as it is the cover of the catalog, which is Venom number 200. Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman are ending their several-year run, very long and very well-beloved run on Venom. This is something that I've only really dipped in for the events. I talked about that earlier, but I do want to jump in and grab this Venom number 200 Milestone issue. This is something actually I might not even read when I get it, because eventually they're going to do a Venom Omnibus, I'm sure, to capture or put together all of these issues that they've done together. And this is a run I really do want to go back and read as a whole. So, but I do want to get it. They got some cool covers and such, and just for the anniversary of it all. So Venom number 200, Donny Cates, Ryan Stegman, and more. Damon.
My first pick is no doubt going to be the Aliens Omnibus, the original Marvel years, or the original years Omnibus Volume 2. Volume 1 comes out in April, which I will be picking this up. Volume 2 here comes out in August. This is going to continue with Volume 1 and collect all the Dark Horse stories from the 90s. Looks like you're going to get the Rogue, Colonial Marines, Labyrinth, Salvation, Music of Spears, and Stronghold story arcs, plus additional one-shots and issues from Dark Horse. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I've been meaning to pick those up, but a lot of the old Dark Horse, the little white omnibus paperbacks are some are fetching big bucks, and to get those old stories can be rather expensive. So now that Marvel has the rights back, they're going through and printing all the old stuff. So that's awesome. So new collectors and collectors of old can still grab them in a nice oversized format.
Excellent. Kirby.
Yeah, Spider-Man, Curse of the Man-Thing, one shot. Discover the horror Man-Thing hides within if you dare. Man-Thing's supernatural abilities have been pirated thanks to Harrower, a zealot intent on clearing humanity off the board, so a new species can get a shot at the top. The world burns in fear is the accelerant. Meanwhile, Spider-Man races across New York, desperate to avert disaster and find the one man that just might be able to get through to Man-Thing, his former colleague Kurt Connors, aka the Lizard. This looks interesting. I like the Lizard, like Spidey, like a Man-Thing, so check it out.
Good. Katie.
All right. So Marvel, a compilation paperback called Marvel vs. Loki, out in May for $9.99. It is written by J. Michael Straczynski and others, and art is John Romita and more. Yeah, so I have always really enjoyed Tom Hiddleston's interpretation of Loki. Quite like that character. I'd be happy to read about it. And this is collecting a few different stories, probably to get us hyped up for the new show. So we have Amazing Spider-Man 503 and 504, Journey into Mystery 626.1. What on earth is that numbering? And Avengers 300 and Silver Surfer number 4. So that looks kind of cool, and it's $10. So Marvel vs. Loki.
Cool. The Mighty Valkyries, number 1 of 5. Jane Foster gets a fresh start and allies both new and old. I'm not going to read the synopsis because it is dealing with some fallout from King in Black. Her recent series, mini-series, has just wrapped up, so they're doing another volume of it with the Mighty Valkyries. I'll say this, Jane Foster believed she was the only Valkyrie left, but the fight against Null, the King in Black, proved her wrong. I've been really liking Jane's story, as she was the Mighty Thor for a couple years and then leading into taking the role of the Valkyrie. So I'm definitely following her journey forward from here. So that is the Mighty Valkyries, a 5-issue miniseries starting in April. Kirby.
The only other one I see is, I lost it, of course. It was Spider-Man Spider Shadow, number 1. I don't know how long this is going to run or whatever, but what if Peter Parker became Venom? Peter Parker once put on an alien suit that nearly destroyed his life, but what if he'd never taken it off, ignoring every warning? Spidey embraces the dark symbiote, haunted by terrible nightmares and exhausted by an endless barrage of bad guys. Peter can't seem to catch a break these days, so when the Hobgoblin attacks, he finds a hero at the end of his rope and vulnerable to new dark impulses. Spider-Man is about to change his rules, but is it truly Peter who is in charge? Looks interesting by Chip Zdarsky. Check it out. That's it for me for Marvel.
All right. Katie. And did I skip over Damon?
Yeah,
Yes, you did.
that's okay.
I looked at the screen and I'm just like, wait a minute. Damon, why don't you go so you're back in the round here?
Okay. Well, my last pick for Marvel is, of course, if I'm getting the old, I also got to get the new. It's the Alien series that's starting. I don't think I was on the podcast to say I was getting Alien 1 when it was coming out, but I'm definitely going to be going with Alien 2. And with that, I'm actually hoping, I don't recall seeing it, but I know in between the 2 Alien Omnibuses, they're releasing the Predator original year's Omnibus 2, all the Dark Horse stuff. So I'm hoping that they're also going to do a new Predator series. But there's nothing in the books yet for that.
All right, Katie.
Okay, so my last new pick for Marvel is Star Wars Bounty Hunters number 11. I have been reading the series. This appears to be a one-shot, so it's going to be about Bosk, the bounty hunter. Bosk is the Trandoshan, so kind of lizard crocodile looking guy. He will awaken to find himself as the hunted instead of the hunter on the forest planet of Malastare. So that comes out on April 14th. It is $3.99. Star Wars Bounty Hunters number 1. That's my last new pick for Marvel.
Okay, I'll take us home with whatever I got left here. There's a Women of Marvel one shot. Looks like a new collection of short stories, and there's some recognizable creator names, but there's a lot of them I actually don't recognize, and that's what intrigues me. There's a video games and comics writer, Ann Toole makes her Marvel debut in A Blaze of Glory. We just have a bunch of other people, I think, that are really kind of maybe not working within Marvel Comics that are kind of making their splash here, and I'm excited to check it out. So it's a one-shot, Women of Marvel #1, and the fact that comics legend Louise Simonson kicks things off with a must-read
Ooh, she does?
introduction. So that's definitely
Heck yeah.
definitely a cool thing there, and it's got some characters I dig right there on the cover with Storm, Elektra, Gamora, Foster, Jane Foster, and Shuri. So Women of Marvel #1. I had jumped off of Guardians of the Galaxy a couple months back, but it's going to get me here with issue number 13. A new age of space starts here. You don't see it represented in the art and the cover for issue number 13, but I think it's going to be happening in 13, 14, or 15. But they released a cover in which Doctor Doom is on the cover.
Yeah.
David, you saw this.
Yes, I've seen it. I've seen news kind of articles on it saying, announcing that Doctor Doom apparently is joining the Guardians of the Galaxy. And I don't know, is there other changes in their lineup coming up as well with that? I thought I saw something else on there. As basically,
yeah, I see Wiccan and Hulkling. Like I said, I wasn't reading the last couple months. I dropped off the book, but maybe post Empire they might have started to be in there. But they're changing, some things up there, as well as the artist team. It's new costume, new teammates, all new enemy. They're basically just all new, all different.
But yeah, they got Doctor Doom right there in the middle.
Yeah. So I figured I that's what drew me to it, because I just like that's such a it's a curveball. So I'm excited to see what Doom is going to be doing within the context of this story. So yeah, that's going to start with Guardians number 13, and it's a 4-issue series, by the way. Spider-Man, Spider's Shadow, Kirby. So that'll be a 4-issue limited series. And that was me just buying some time here as I go through, wondering what else. Because I know there are some couple other things here. But yeah, picking up that Man Thing as well, which I think is part of like a 3-story arc, because they had the Avengers Man Thing issue that is scheduled for March. Yeah, maybe that was it for the brand new stuff. Maybe it was all just repeats. So yeah, we'll do it. That'll do it for Marvel, I guess. Jumping over to this is the last thing I want to say. Captain Marvel number 28. Speaking of getting new costumes and everything, this is sporting a new costume for Carol Danvers that looks like a great opportunity for me to buy a new action figure down the line. But she's getting a new costume change there, and that looks pretty sweet there. So that was the other big newsworthy thing when it comes to some changes. Okay, so that will be it for Marvel. Jumping over to DC, which is straightly from a digital catalog. They don't have the physical ones anymore. So let me just jump over to my screen here and see what is coming out from DC Comics. The Harley Quinn Black, White, and Red trade paperback. I had talked about one of the chapters a couple months ago that I was intrigued by the creative team, and it was a digital first series, and now it's being collected in print for the first time. So, and I think a different issue had a different creative team for each one there. So I really like that one story I checked out, and it seems like a good little anthology. So that is Harley Quinn, Black, White, and Red trade paperback. Damon.
Okay, there's a couple #1s this month that look good from DC. This first one I'm sure is also going to be on Jim's pull list. It's Batman, The Dark Knight #1. This will be a 6-issue series, and what's cool about this is it's taking place in Europe. A horrific tragedy in the United Kingdom sends a very personal and deadly message to the Dark Knight, one that will draw Batman out of Gotham City to investigate. From the moment he lands in Europe, Batman will face a difficult investigation and unheard of adversaries and find the assistance of a partner once more, all in the hunt for the villain known as Equilibrium. New villains, new allies, a thrilling overseas adventure begins for the Dark Knight, starting with an exercised 26-page debut. So that should be interesting. I'm sure a lot of people are probably going to get this for collectability because there's going to be new villains and new allies. So I know usually like the first appearances are highly sought after. So make sure you add this to your pull list. Make sure you guarantee yourself a copy if you're into Batman.
Alrighty, Kirby.
All right, Anthony took my other ones, so the only one I got is Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries #1.
Yep.
It's an all-new, all-ages series that teams the Dark Knight with Scooby-Doo and the Sleuths of Mystery Incorporated. When Batman discovers his original purple gloves have gone missing, Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby-Doo travel back in time to Batman's Year One era to solve the case. Will this glove story have a happy ending, and will Prince be involved? Yeah, that's about the only DC one that's grabbing me other than Harley Quinn's. So you put Scooby-Doo and the gang in it, I'll buy anything.
That was going to be my next pick. So there we balanced each other out there. And that was going to be one of those two that seems very fitting for a possible club discussion. So I'm just throwing that out there. Something fun, something very introductory for both Batman and Scooby-Doo that it seems like it'll be. It's very reader friendly in that sense. So just throwing that out there if that inspires anyone to read those two dynamic characters.
Now, I don't have right in front of me, but is the cover for that, is that animated series version of Joker with kind of a Super Friends Batman? Is it?
Let's see.
I saw that briefly before.
It's animated version of Batman with Scooby and Shaggy.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like when Batman and Robin used to guest star on the old Scooby-Doo stuff. That version of Batman,
that same look.
But I think the Joker I thought looked more like Batman the Animated Series type style, which I thought was kind of an odd.
Yeah, what I'm looking at with the cover of #1, it just says Batman, Shaggy, and Scooby on there.
Yeah, I thought I'd seen something with a cover that also had like a larger picture of. Yeah, see, that's different. That's not what I saw. I'll have to do some checking because, yeah, it just the art that I saw for the ad for it looked like it had the Joker in there, but it looked like an animated series version of the Joker. But it looked like the style of like the older animation, like Super Friends era or the old Scooby-Doo cartoons. Would Batman would be on it, that version of Batman. So I just thought it was an odd combination, and I got to look that up.
I know just not long ago I did the Harley Quinn one that had the crossover with Scooby Gang, and that had Joker in it.
All right. Katie, what you got? Anything from DC?
Sure. Guess what? I was also going to suggest Scooby-Doo and Batman. So, and I also think that'd be a good club pick. I have nothing new to say other than that. That just looks like a super fun book. So, Scooby-Doo and Batman team up.
What we like to do here with our club discussions, usually when we find at least 3 readers of the same book, which we've locked in now with our previews, sounds like something that Jim would probably pick up and especially be swayed into. He's a big Batman fan, so it sounds like something he would probably already get. So I think it's safe to say that coming in April, we will start discussing Batman and Scooby-Doo.
Yep, and good news is it's $2.99. It's written by Ivan Cohen, art and cover by Dario Brizuela, and it's on sale on 4/13/21 from DC Comics.
Cool. That was it for me. Damon, do you have anything?
Yeah, I got one more. I also was gonna do Batman and Scooby-Doo. So
Man, look at
But
this.
so my last DC pick is going to be the Justice League, the New 52 Omnibus Volume 1. I've been wanting to read some Justice League, and I'm a big fan of Jeff Johns' writing. He seems to be pretty good. And I know Justice League Origin, which is the first 12 issues of the New 52, is written by Jeff Johns and was supposed to be a really good run. So I've been waiting to get it. And this is the perfect chance. This omnibus is going to contain Justice League 0 to 23, Aquaman 14 to 16, Justice League Dark 22 to 23, the New 52 special, Justice League of America 1 through 7, Trinity of Sin, The Phantom Stranger 11, Constantine number 5, and Trinity of Sin Pandora 1 through 3. I have not read any of those, so this should be fun and exciting, and that's coming out in June, it looks like. So yeah, and that's it for me for DC.
All right, I think that was it for everybody. Is that correct? Sound
Yep.
good? Okay, so that is going to do it for this issue of our show. Once again, as a reminder for future club discussions here on this podcast, once we do have the readers who want to talk about it, Batman, The Adventures Continue, issue number 8, which will be the finale of that. We will have Inkblot, issue number 6, and Crossover, issue number 4. And next week, we will do part 2 of our previews. And don't think I'm forgetting about it, but we will do the follow-up letters page to our vice presidential picks. Go back to listen to last week's episode, and I think it was presented by Katie and refined by David of the idea of one character's president, but who are they going to pick as their VP? So that'll be part 2 of our letters page. That's just a great way to get everyone hooked and make them come back for more, much like what WandaVision does. They don't give you all the answers right away. They make you keep coming back. So, and the way you keep coming back is subscribing to the show, Crimson Cowl Comic Club on YouTube, so you can get the video version, and as well as iTunes and Spotify to get the audio drops. We also have a couple spin-off podcasts. One of them is Under the Cowl, which is co-hosted by myself and David. Each and every week that we come out with one is when
we take breaks periodically.
Yep, and that's fine. That's what Under the Cowl is all about. Separate podcast we do, just talking about a bunch of random stuff that we don't talk about on this show. It could be geared toward mature audiences, so there's really no limits on there. And in the recent episodes, we're going to start talking about WandaVision and things like that. But all the different topics will happen over Under the Cowl. Then there's yet another spin-off podcast that is reached past its 100th episode mark. That is Under the Cowl of MS. That is Kirby's podcast, and talking about comic books as well as living with MS. And he goes through, gives a lot of tips and news and updates, and just kind of really give it all the information. I've said it many times, but guarantee you there's no other podcast like his. It is very unique. And if you start listening past episode 100, you get an awesome song parody of Baby Got Back that is kind of worked into his opening intro of his podcast. If that doesn't sell you to go check it out and subscribe over on Under the Cowl of MS, then Anchor Podcast, where you can find that. Then I don't know what will, but check that out as well. So yeah, bunch of different shows there, lots to talk about, but that is going to be it for this issue. So this whole time, I couldn't touch the evidence, couldn't play with the corpse, couldn't wear the creepy scarecrow mask, or even dose anybody with fear toxins.
I've been sitting here transforming into a quieter version of myself.
I've been wearing my underpants on the outside of my pants.
I've been dying to go eat at Monster Burger.
And I'm a fan of Friday.
To be continued.